Well, welcome everybody. We're going to wait a couple minutes to let everyone in. We have a little over 200 participants. So super excited to get started with you all today. And we have amazing panelists. You know, I really love these master classes. We started them 2 months ago, and one of the ones that was mastering the masterclass of the memberships. Remember that one, Chris?
Absolutely.
Masterclass, how to sell memberships or selling more memberships. And we got a lot of amazing feedback. I will tell you, we keep these masterclasses. We put them on our YouTube for you to reshare or use them. We've had a lot of clients give us some feedback that they use these masterclasses when they're having training sessions. And the beauty about these masterclasses is Chris and Phil don't have to do the talking, right? What we do, that's the best part. What we do is we bring people in the industry that we find best in class, right? Absolutely best in class for the topic. And the two panelists that we have here today, they're best in class. And I think that you'll recognize that. And so whether you already feel as though that you're a master at the patient consultation and you're just looking for a couple tips and tricks to get a new perspective, it's going to be amazing. Or whether you feel as though there's room to grow, perfect. We've got the right panelists for you today. Chris, anything to say before we get started?
No, very excited to be here. And like Phil said, bringing you guys best in class content is one of our big commitments for 2023. We make these webinars just out of the love of you, your business, and wanting you guys to have literally the best knowledge available so your businesses can do better. And, you know, and the key, like Phil said, you don't want to hear from us. You want to hear from the people that are doing it at the highest levels. And we have two of those people here today. So very excited to get going.
Awesome. With that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So, as your host, if you don't know me, people refer to me as the guy with blonde hair. My name is Phil Sitter. I am the founder and CEO of Repeat MD. I'm usually wearing a white suit. Today is a little different.
Yeah,
today's a little different. I don't know if it really appears well on camera. I mean, my God. But yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. You do too, Chris. Ray, Nick, you also look amazing. So I'm Phil Sitter. I'm the founder and CEO of Repeat MD. Happy to be here with you today with my co-founder, Christian Miko. He's no longer the vice president of sales. We got to update that. Chris moved into different pastures. He is now the vice president of business development. So what that means now is he gets to go develop the business. Right, Chris?
Okay. That's what I read in the dictionary.
Awesome. Finally, today's panelist. We're going to give some introductions here in a second, but we've got Ray DeVault, founder of Radiant Divine, and Nick, founder of Aria Integrative Health, both incredible. And we're going to start with Ray, and she's going to steal the show here, Nick. So I know you look like a GQ. I know you look like a GQ model, Nick, but you're going to have to really pry the show back from Ray here when she's done.
Oh, thank you.
All right. So, Chris, would you mind doing the introduction?
Yeah. So as you know, Ray's here because we bribed her with another Louis Vuitton bag. Kidding.
That's good.
No. So the great thing about Ray and her husband, Ryan, is we've been working really closely with both of them for the past few months. They are big believers in Repeat MD. They use Repeat MD to propel their practice. So they are using it in the consultation and every element of the business. And we couldn't think of anybody better that really knows how to communicate with the clients and the patients at a higher level to come here and share with you her tricks and tips. So Ray, do you want to say a few words about yourself? I didn't want to just read your bio because that's on the screen, but please introduce yourself to the crowd.
Well, actually, I don't really think I have much to say. I usually have somebody else do that for me because I think that's an important key. And what I do to do like an intro in the office in general, I feel like I could sit here and say all day long, hi, I'm Ray DeVault. I own a practice. I've had this practice for almost 6 years. I've been an instructor for 11 years. I've taught for this company, this company, this company. And then I feel like it starts to get a little braggy. So that's why when I have somebody do my intro, I think it's nice that they know that they're going to meet with somebody who's a trained professional, but not somebody that feels like they're more into themselves than the person that's sitting in the chair.
Yeah. So and consultation training has already begun.
Yeah, that's it.
That's exactly one of the pieces that we were going to cover today here, Chris, is we'll get into the points, but when we have these conversations prior, right, we talk about what are we going to talk about, and we really make sure this content's going to be great. And I asked Ray, I was like, look, one thing I want you to cover, and this really caught me by surprise. I said, talk to me about before the consultation, right? Like, here's the thing is like, let's talk about the consultation on this, but how do I get more consultations in the first place? Because I tell her, I'm like, look, I talk to practices every day and they tell me, hey, I need more patients. I need more patients. Like, if I only had more patients, I would sell more of my consultation. And so I led in with that. And what she told me, like, took me a little bit by surprise. Like, I was like, Ray, what do you do for marketing to get more consultations? So let's start with that, Ray. What did you tell me when we talked about that?
So I'll be honest, when I first opened the practice, it was mostly word of mouth. I started the company with my husband. We didn't have any investors. We only had our own money that we had put into it. So I didn't have a lot of marketing dollars to put out there. So what I had to do is have customers that came in and clients that came in love me and love the idea of the practice. So we had to do a lot of word of mouth, which was awesome. As the business was growing, I think for us, we kept thinking, well, if we keep spending more money on marketing and we keep spending more money on marketing, we're going to bring more people in. But then I'm looking at our database of people and we have so many people in our database. So how can we remarket to those people? Because we've already paid to have them in the door. So let's see why they haven't returned, or how we can, make them want to become a member, or, just getting them re-engaged in the practice in general.
Yeah, and so that's what caught me by surprise is what she immediately talked about. And we talk about this all the time at Repeat MD. So I loved hearing it. She's like, Phil, I focus on retention. What Ray just had a conversation about is a retention conversation. It's why are we so focused in this business to get more patients? We're willing to spend for this company, that company, and all these other companies to get us more patients. And, look, she's already has 4 locations. She does millions of dollars in revenue. One of the Inc.'s 5,000 fastest growing small businesses. And here's the thing is like, she's just telling you it's about retention more than it is acquisition. And I think most people understand that, like they hear it, but I don't think people actually take that and convert, right? They're like so quick to go to the acquisition farm, right? And go pay for another patient. And that leads into the consultation, right? To get those patients retained, right? It leads into having an amazing consultation. So let's talk about your 7 keys to a successful consultation. We'll go one point at a time. I'll lead in the point and then let's hear your take on it. So number 1, this is what you were talking about with Chris. And I think this is a key fundamental. Have someone else introduce you and your background. So tell us a little bit more about that.
So for me, when I was going into a room, I used to laugh because I didn't like to talk about myself. When I first started, I didn't have an assistant. I couldn't afford to have an assistant, right? But I had front desk and I wasn't really utilizing them probably the right way at that time. But I'd walk into a room assuming that people already knew who I was. And then halfway through injecting them, they're like, so how long have you been doing this? And I'm like, well, that's kind of interesting. Like they don't really seem to know much about me. So now what I do is I utilize whether it's my assistant or somebody at the front desk or one of my other providers to bring that person back and kind of just inform them of who I am. I don't actually tell people I'm the owner, which a lot of people think might be weird. But I'm more like my credentials, like have somebody else credential you and say, hey, they've been doing it for X amount of years. So that way they're more comfortable, because I feel like that's something like somebody's sitting in that chair and they don't know who they're going to get or what they're walking into at that point in time. So just having somebody else really do that introduction for you so that when you walk in, you can kind of reintroduce yourself, but not in a braggy way that it's making the person uncomfortable, but just like, hey, just, I am Ray DeVault and, I've been a nurse for X amount of years, and go on from there.
I love that. And I think it speaks to that quote that if you're truly great, you don't have to tell, you don't have to tell anyone. And so it's especially great when someone does that intro for you. So I think that's a key piece right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Second piece, we talked about this, right?
Yeah.
Is breaking the ice.
So
tell me, how do you do that?
Breaking the ice. I feel like that's actually a huge deal for people. So I talk about this a lot, and a lot of people don't realize this. So it takes a lot for a person to sit in your chair. And what that means is usually they're insecure about something. They're going through something, whether it's the aging process, going through a divorce, feeling they're being pushed out of the workforce because they're aging and, younger people are coming in. So how can you kind of relate to them and talk to them and make them feel comfortable. So I kind of crack jokes. Anybody who knows me, I change my look all the time. I don't take myself that seriously. I would say I'm probably pretty much a tomboy at heart. But this isn't a job that I thought I was ever going to be doing. Originally, I started because I wanted to be a midwife. I loved being pregnant myself. I thought I loved pregnant women. Turns out I didn't at all. I just liked it when I was pregnant. So now I make the joke of saying I used to work on some lips and now I work on others. So they
That's good.
laugh and I say, it's honestly, it's really because they're sitting there nerve, like their nerves are like very uncomfortable. You can feel it. Like I'm that person who walks in the room, I can feel that anxiety, that intention of a person. So I feel like just making a couple of jokes and letting them know you're real, like you're the same as them, you have the same insecurities as yourself, as they do, it makes it more comfortable for them.
Yeah, I think that's totally true. And I think that it takes a lot, like you said, for people to sit in that chair, taking a second to make that emotional connection is just beyond anything else when it comes to consultation. Because if you go straight into it, you feel like a number, right?
Yeah.
And the last thing people want to do is feel like a number in anything when it comes to medical, right? And so
Absolutely.
That's what I want to talk about next is like after you break the ice, you make the lips joke. It gets me every time. Then we make an emotion. Then you take the time. You told me that you're like, Phil, I take the time to make an emotional connection. Let's talk a little bit about that piece.
So I think a big thing too is obviously we know in this business, money's time. In any business it is. So people want to rush from the next person to the next person. I think it's so important that very first consultation that you're taking the time to listen to your patient, because that person might have made an appointment for Botox or filler or laser, but a lot of the times they don't know what they really want. And so take the time to listen to them, making sure that when they're saying something to you, you're repeating it back, letting it know that you're not just listening, you're not just looking at them like blank stare, you're actually noting what they're saying and you're coming up with an idea of what's best for them, whether they thought they were coming in for something else. And now you're going to change that once you actually do the consultation part of it, but really listening to what their concerns are.
Yeah, I love that. And, that reminds me of a great quote from Zig Ziglar. If anybody's ever heard, you might want to write this one down and drill it with your team. But people don't care what you have to say or what you have to sell until they know you care about them, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So that's a big deal for me. I feel like any of the clients I've had in the past 11 years, they've stayed with me because they know I always pay attention to what they're saying, and not everybody has the same memory, right? So one of the things that I really tell my staff to do is jot down a note. If it's the first time that you're meeting somebody, when they come in and they're saying, hey, I'm getting ready for my son's wedding, hey, I'm getting ready for my daughter's baby shower, whatever it is, put that little note down in the chart. And you don't have to put it in the medical chart, you don't have to put it in your EMR, but just put that little note down in their actual chart as like a note for yourself. Because when that person comes back and you look at them and you say, hey, how was your daughter's baby shower? How was your son's wedding? They're like, wow, you see this many people and you remember me.
Ray, when you talk about these fundamentals, it is no surprise at all why you have 4 practices and you're successful, because these things that you're saying, it's like, I know them, but you saying them and you systematizing them and you holding your staff accountable to them and create training around them is the very difference of a business that's in business and extraordinarily successful business. So yeah, it's brilliant. Let's go back here. Discuss short and long-term options, right? So we've broken the ice. If someone's introduced you, we've broken the ice, we've made an emotional connection. And now what you're doing is discussing short and long-term options. What do you mean by that? And what tips do you have on that?
So short and long-term options. Obviously, when people are coming in, they want a quick fix. We live in a world where I want it and I want it now, right? So of course, that sounds great. But let's also talk about long-term. So I give them a couple different options. Today, if you want to get some Botox done or some filler done, the Botox might take, 5 to 7 days, 2 weeks tops. The filler might take a little time to settle. That's immediate. But we also talk about skincare regimens. We talk about maintaining your results. If you're investing in your face, then let's invest long-term. So I don't want you to spend a bunch of money today and then 4 months down the road, 6 months down the road, it's gone. If you're spending it, how can we maintain that? What is our treatment plan, and how are we going to continue to make sure that you're feeling great about yourself long-term and not just today?
I love that, because I just had a what's it called, a microneedling session, right? So I just did that like 4 or 5 days ago, and I'll tell you what they didn't do is exactly none of these things, but they certainly didn't do number 4. Like, I just did the session, and I asked, like, okay, well, what else can I do? Like, after the microneedling session is my first one, I was very open to getting more or getting other things, but I just got the treatment, and I was just left with, I had to take my notes and like, what do I do next, et cetera. But they didn't discuss any sort of options or any sort of treatment plan. So I can really resonate as just, a patient a few days ago.
So when are you going back? Like, that's
I'm never going back.
But when are you due? Like, when do they tell you to go back? Like, did they say?
I've got my, I've got my little, skincare routine. I've got my sunscreen on my face, and that's all I know. Right. So,
do you use those products until you run out, or are they telling you when to come back in? That's what I'm saying. It's long-term, knowing that you want them to maintain.
I know nothing. Yeah, exactly. And I felt like, here's what I want to tell you all that own practices. I felt so open, because the microneedling, like, it was not painful. I was like, it was easy. I felt so open to doing other treatments, and I had this little emotional, like, dopamine rush of like, oh wow, like, I'm open to doing more. But that crashed really hard, because I was left, like, to fend for myself afterwards.
Yes.
Like, I'm like, I don't know what to do, and you didn't excite me to do anything else. And so now I'm open to more treatments, but I'm not open to going back there because they didn't take care of me. And so,
as
100%.
yeah, as a patient, I can tell you that if you don't discuss the short and long-term options and give a real treatment plan, you leave that person to fend for themselves, and it's a very odd feeling as a patient. So, number 5, present everything together as a treatment plan and not line items.
Yeah, so I kind of get a lot of crap about this all the time, about the fact that I don't put my pricing online and price transparency. So for me, yes, I could do that. And my pricing is very similar to a lot of people around my area. The reason why I don't do that is I don't want somebody coming across my website, coming across one of our advertisements, and they say, oh, you know what, this person's syringe and filler is $700. Their Botox is $14 a unit. And they're already making an assumption like, hey, that's out of my price range. Where, they're going down, they're looking at another place that might be down the street, and theirs might be $10 a unit and $500 a syringe. So when people come call, what we always tell them is, you need to come in for a consult, because you might think you want one thing, your practitioner might tell you another, and you're going to come up with a treatment plan. And so why I don't do line items is when I have somebody coming in, if they're just getting 20 units of Botox, yes, it's kind of a line item situation. If somebody's coming in and they want to be a patient of yours long-term, what I'm doing is I'm coming up with a full treatment plan, and I'm walking out of the room. I'm looking, hey, they're getting 50 units of Botox, they're getting X amount of fillers, they're going to get skincare regimen, and then I'm discounting that for them. Why? Because that's all it's one appointment, right? We talked about this. Time is money. So having them coming up with a full treatment plan and doing it right then, that's one thing. They're going to save money long-term, but I'm not that one delivering that price. I have somebody else doing that.
And that's point number 6 there. I want you to say that again and tell me the why of that, right? Because when you told me that, I was like, wow, that's brilliant. So for her, she never presents pricing herself. So tell me how we got there and why you don't.
So the reason why I stopped presenting price myself was, when you have an emotional connection towards somebody, or their why of being there, your heartstrings are pulled, but you're still a business owner, right? So what ends up happening is you're sitting in the chair and you're talking to somebody and you're writing down they need X amount of fillers and this, and you're looking at it and you're like, oh my God, that's like $3,000. That's $4,000. And you can already feel like the person's watching you add it up. It's a very uncomfortable situation. You're like, I don't know how I can present that to that person. Instead of saying like, hey, it's going to be $5,000. Let's go back and discount this. Let's take 10 units off. Let's take this filler off. And you're doing disjustice for that person, because you're trained to know what that person needs, right? But you're sitting there and that person's staring at you as you're adding it up in front of them. And what ends up happening is you're feeling uncomfortable, they're feeling uncomfortable. So what I do is I say, hey, you know what? I have a great plan of what we're going to do. Give me a minute. And what I always do is I don't say I'm going out there and adding this up or figuring out your discounts. I always say, hey, you know what? I have a great treatment plan option for you. And what I'm thinking is, I know we have a lot of promos going on. I know that there's different rewards for different things, as far as Aspire, Alley, this, that, and the other thing. I go, I want to go see what I can give you as like a best treatment option. I walk out of the room, I come up with the entire treatment plan, whether it's just their neurotoxin and filler, their neurotoxin filler, this and the other thing, or joining a membership, what the discount's going to be. And I hand it to my assistant, or if my assistant can't be there that day, I hand it to the front desk and I have them go present it. And the way they present it is like, hey, if you want to do everything you talked about with Rachel today, it's going to be this amount. And it would have been this amount, but we talk about what the discount is for that. Say it might have been $3,000. Now it's $2,200. Or if you're thinking you want to go, and just do a little bit at a time, this is going to be your Botox, this is going to be your filler. But then you're not in that situation where you're feeling like you're negotiating, because as medical professionals, we shouldn't be negotiating price. That's something that I think too many people are doing. We should be telling the patient what they need based off what they actually need, because it's a medication, right? I've never once seen a doctor tell me, hey, I need 7 days of an antibiotic, but I'm going to take one today and hope it works out because that's what I can afford.
We got a good question from, and by the way, guys, chat is enabled, so please put your chat up there. But there is a good question that came in. If you're a solo provider practitioner, you're in there alone, any way that you can present pricing that's comfortable if you don't have somebody you can turn it over to, you think?
Absolutely. Because like I said, at first, I was a solo provider. It was really just stepping out of the room and just taking a minute to regroup before you just came at them with that price. Making
smart.
Sure,
delivering it very organized.
Yes. Walk out of that room, say, hey, you know what? How can I price this for this person and make it, it doesn't have to be affordable for them. Yes, you want it to be affordable, but you don't have to discount it so much just to get that sale that day, because that's also going to be an uncomfortable situation for you long term. But just walking away and taking a minute to group yourself and like get yourself like together and be like, hey, you know what, this is what it's going to be.
And to reiterate one other thing I thought I heard you say, and I thought this was just like magic, just when it hit my ear, you give them a tier, like, hey, this is for everything. This is like the middle range. And like, hey, if you at least want to get started, maybe like just, you can start here at the bottom, right? So it's almost like, this is your whole dream wish list. This is what I maybe recommend in the middle. And this is at a minimum start here. Is that kind of what I heard?
Yeah. And that's what I do. And based off of what level they're willing to go to, whether it's just their neurotoxin, whether it's neurotoxin filler or like a full treatment plan, that's how I kind of figure out what discount I'm giving them.
That's incredible.
Amazing. So that you touched on that last point, which is how to actually present the pricing and to deliver a complete outcome. And Chris, you did a great job touching on those 3 different variations. So let's talk about the final piece, right? When she said this, I was like, wait, say that again, right? For Ray and all of her experience, would everyone like to know one of the biggest mistakes you can make in a consultation? I mean, I'll sign up for that e-course, right? Like what's the biggest mistake you can make, right? Here it is. Giving your patients line item pricing versus a treat to complete plan.
Yes.
Right? Tell me why you're so against this.
So again, when I first started doing these full treatment plans, because at first, being a new practice, you want to sell everything to everybody. You want that person in your chair and you're like, oh yeah, I will match that $400 filler today. Yes, I will give you Botox for $7 a unit. And you're also like training that person to just expect those things all the time. But the reason why I said don't do it for line item is you also don't want that person. So at our place, we don't give free consultations. We call them complimentary, right? Because it's a little bit classier. But we tell people, I don't want to take the time to do a full consult and then just say 7 syringes, 3 treatments of laser, this and the other thing, because now they are still going to take that line item that you just wrote out for them and they're going to shop you somewhere else. Whereas they know that if they're getting everything, you're signing up to have a relationship with that person, a full treatment plan. And now they're not going to go shop somewhere else. They trust you. They know that you're giving them the best pricing and the best possible outcome for the result.
Love it. And then we added a little pro tip that you said, just to reiterate.
Yeah.
Again, have someone else present this as a desired outcome plan. The someone else is the key. Ray, go ahead.
No, I was saying, yeah, absolutely it is.
Yeah, you've been phenomenal. And
you.
one of the pieces I wanted to add here is Ray and Ryan. They've been avid RepeatMD users. They're absolutely crushing it. I won't share the numbers, but they've just been absolutely crushing with RepeatMD in their 4 locations. She's a big believer in retention, uses it as a consultation tool. They have thousands and thousands of users. And they came to me and were like, Phil, RepeatMD, we need an owner's Facebook group. We don't want any of you RepeatMD. We call ourselves the repeaters in this Facebook group. and so Ryan and Ray launched a RepeatMD owners Facebook group, right? So if you look at right here, we will send a link for this Facebook group out to everybody on this call, but it's a bunch of like-minded individuals that are looking to grow their practice. It can be topics about RepeatMD, can be topics about growing the practice. You'll have access to Ryan, you'll have access to Rachel, many other RepeatMD users. And so we're really happy to launch this. It's actually launched a few days ago, and we'll send that link out, and it's a complete private group. I won't be in it. Our RepeatMD team won't be in it, but it'll be awesome to see what you guys come up with there. So I want to say thank you, Ray. Thanks for being on this. We'll keep you for the Q&A. And Ryan's back there working away. Ryan's her husband. They own Radiant together, and he's actually he's holding the ring light. Yeah, of course. He knows the Instagram husband. That's it's awesome. So thank you so much.
Absolutely.
So Chris,
Nick,
let's introduce Nick.
Nick, you deserve a proper introduction. I'm going to read your full bio, but that's not really how I was sold on Nick myself. But Nick, founder and owner of ARIA Integrative Health, done over 7,000 aesthetic consultations. I believe it because when I heard him speak on stage for the first time, talking about how to do a consultation, I immediately called Phil and I said, Phil, like this guy, it's what I've seen Back in the Future, that scene when he calls like, hey, I got it. I found the one. Like that's how I called Nick. I was like, this guy is going to make everybody in this audience an extra $200,000 this year. Been in this industry for 12 years. Number 1 was sculpture provider in the world, number 1 installed neo provider in the 23 state central region, which is fantastic. You guys know how many neos are out there, so that's pretty impressive. Top 10 in the country, top 10 body contouring clinics in North America, number 1 in-face in the Rocky Mountain region, owner and director of business development, marketing and wellness at ARIA Integrative Health, and low-high lipo laser. And I'll tell you, it is not an accident that Nick is in the top of all those categories. When you listen to what this man has to say and how he goes about his consultations methodically, I promise you, everybody on this call, if you take just one thing he does and put it to use, you're going to have a better 2023 than you did 2022. Undeniable. Nick Tvrdik, I'll hand it over to you, my friend.
Holy cow, I'm blushing. Thank you for saying all that. I really appreciate it. And what's so great about this industry, I love it. I've been in this world for a long time, and really the reason why I'm here is I've made all the mistakes. And why I love speaking and getting on stage and doing these types of presentation is my wife and I started the business 12 years ago, and my background's actually in sales, marketing, and advertising. So I learned how to build a business, and luckily my beautiful wife, who's significantly smarter and better looking than I am, believed in us and what we could really do. And we bought one device 12 years ago. I emptied my 401k. She emptied her 401k. And we ended up having $25,000 left over, and we spent it all on month 1 advertising. The reason why I bring that up is this is a little bit different story than what Ray was talking about. And that's why, I'm going to implement some things that Ray said. Is the way that we do things, it works very well for us. And we've learned the hard way on how to really figure some of these things out, but it's not just one way for each person, right?
Yep.
Please take some of what I have to say, what Ray has to say, make it your own. Because really the whole part of this business is creating something unique, you being unique. Like Ray's story is very unique. My and Stephanie's story at ARIA is a unique story, but it works for us. So I'm a big believer in the rising tide lifts all ships across the board. So anytime that we can help, I love it. We're actually part of a podcast called the Aesthetics Coaches Quarter, and it's a lot of this information where we really want to help and teach and all of that. So on that note, I still do the majority of our consults because I love it. I absolutely love this industry. I love talking about it, what you can do to really help people get through this process. Because at the end of the day, this is sales. And I know that can be a dirty word for some people, but we need to call it what it is and get after it at the same time, because how Ray is doing it is definitely different than how we're doing it. And it's not that one is right or wrong. It's you really need to figure out what's going to be the best for you. So I'm going to jump right in, because we spend a decent amount of money every single month and on advertising. And I really like to talk about the patient experience, because it goes far beyond sitting into a patient consultation room, right? Anytime that patient has an experience of your ad on social media, your ad on TV, radio, whatever it is, that really starts the entire patient experience of your brand and what you're going to be talking about and why you are unique, right? So when somebody comes into the door, I know that we've worked hard, paid a lot of money in the advertising part. Part of the reason why I love Repeat MD is that was not always the focus for our businesses. We relied on spending the 7 times more on getting people in. And now we're utilizing Repeat MD, and it's been the best spend of money that we've had, because it's so much more efficient to really utilize your current patients. Thank you for talking about that as well. Right. But for a consultation from advertising money or somebody new, the consultation really starts the second that patient walks into the door, right? How they are greeted. If somebody is smiling, we always really try and have them greeted by name. So even if that patient has never been into our clinic before, we have a good idea of who's on the schedule, what those patients have come in, talked about before, what has been the history of that patient. So we know who's new, who's not new about the time. And it goes a long way when you can walk into a business, you're greeted with a smile. You've never been there before. It's a clean, safe feeling environment. Ours feels more homey as opposed to stale clinic style of things. So we're really trying to have it take down that stale air, which can intimidate a lot of people when you go into a doctor's office. So we always try and smile, greet somebody by name, welcome them to our clinic. And that little bit can go such a long way. How do you know who I am? I've never been in here before. It's the little things where you can make your experience at your clinic, whether it's what we're doing or what Ray is doing, make it your own and make it something that is a unique experience that does not happen very often. A lot of places end up being laser factories, and it feels like that when you walk in the door, and nobody likes that. Nobody wants to feel like a number. Nobody wants to feel like that. So making it really personal and unique, and that whole patient experience from the second they walk in the door, that's when the consultation starts. This is far beyond just somebody and trying to work a price or something like that. That patient experience experience with you. Something, can everybody hear me all right? I just
You were
got
breaking
one.
up for just a second, but you're back now, Nick.
I'm back. Okay. I don't know what happened there, but everybody's got me now. Thank you.
Yeah.
And if that happens again, please shoot another chat and we'll get to the bottom of it. But really, the whole patient experience through the entire thing is important. And this third one, this is kind of what Chris was talking about, is the initial paperwork. And I always, when I'm on stage, I always tell people that if you're not doing this one particular piece, you're going to make an extra $100,000 this year. So at the very bottom page of your first page of your initial paperwork, before people are tired of filling out your paperwork, right, is put a list of all of your services, right? Which we do a lot. So we have a fully functional integrative health center. We do a ton of different styles of laser, body contouring. We're one of the top body contouring clinics in the country, things like that. So we get really, really unique in our advertising. So if somebody's trying to get rid of a muffin top or something like that, I am hitting that hard where I look like that is all I do in our advertising. So when they come in the door, they don't know we're doing stem cell facials with whatever other device it is. They don't know we do bioidentical hormones. They don't know we do all these other things. So you're doing a couple different pieces here. One, you're letting these patients know everything that you do, but as importantly, you're creating new sales funnels moving forward, right? So please check all of the services that you might be interested in, right? So anti-aging, wrinkles, hyperpigmentation, whatever it is, we have 17 different devices, cellulite, et cetera, et cetera. Let them tell you what they want, because then you have a game plan with that patient moving forward, right? So when you're doing check-ins, when you're continuing to meet with them, when you are finished with their initial run through on that patient, you then have some more conversations where you can really dive into, okay, hey, we did this first one, you lost 14 inches, you're loving the results. Now is now a good time to talk about cellulite. So
you throw out a very narrow, laser focused ad campaigns to get them in, then you immediately want to open them up to everything. Phil, that's what you experienced when you it didn't open you up at all.
Well, I was going to say that again, speaking as a patient, right? That would have been amazing. That would have been amazing for me to say, here are all the things that I'm interested in, like that. I didn't have a consultation. I was like, I came in and it was like microneedling guy, boom. And here I am. Like, that was it. I mean, my God, I got cash to spend. They won't even take it. Yeah. And a lot of you on this call won't even take the cash. That's what's crazy. Is like, I'm ready to go buy everything, right? But no, I couldn't. And so, I love that. I think that's one of the best hacks that you have there, Chris. Nick, is having them fill out all the things they're potentially interested in. It's genius. Thank you for sharing that. Let's talk about this last piece here. Timing and punctuality is needed because, again, as a patient, there's nothing worse than sitting 30 minutes waiting for my thing.
The worst. Absolutely. And thank you for keeping me going, because if anybody's seen me speak, I could just talk and talk and talk with this. So when somebody buys a device or somebody is getting through this as a business owner, it is always pitched to you about your time and efficiency so you can roll more patients through. These are kings and queens that are walking into your clinic, right? So you're going to be asking for $8,000, $10,000, $5,000 from these patients. You need to value their time, I would argue, more than your time, because that comes across. When you are doing that and you are really showing them the love on your valuing their time. So in our clinic, after they're done with their initial paperwork, we have them back in our consultation room within 2 minutes of them filling out that paperwork, because I want their time to be valued, and yes, give them that luxury experience. Thank you, Maury, for putting that. We want this to be the patient experience that they've never had before, so they want to continue to come back, and they haven't even given us any money yet, right? We haven't done any services. This is all about the patient experience. And we really try and do that not only for treatments, for the consultation, everything that you are doing in this consultation. I haven't even talked about money yet, right? But this patient experience will set you apart from your competition, I promise you. And when you're really sitting up with everybody and you are sitting with them, they get it. So you've already got through a lot of the really problems that you're going to have moving forward, because they've been treated like
the stage is set. They've got a great experience. Now they're going to be open and receptive to the next part of the message, which is the consultation.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. So once again, I could talk about this for hours, but the consultation starts the moment they walk in the door, really, because it's all about the patient experience. This next line is the most important thing. If you get anything from me today, if you can take this second line and leave here and be able to implement it, then you've won the consultation.
Oh, baby. I'm ready to buy the ebook.
Right. So if you don't have your patients getting excited about what you have to offer, you're probably not in the right business. Right.
Amen.
So, I mean, I love what I do. I love sitting down with somebody and going back to what Ray was talking about. They're sitting down with you for a reason, right? They are not confident in themselves. They have just got done with a divorce or they're trying to do something like that, right? They are vulnerable. So you being able to have the right solutions, but then get them excited about this patient journey again is as important as showing them results. Because the results will come as long as you are good at your job and you're putting together the plan that is going to show them the results that they're trying to achieve, not necessarily what you think they can afford, which we're going to get to a little bit later. But getting them excited about this plan is the most important thing you could ever do in your consultation.
Nick, if that's the most important piece, I got to ask, can you give us a little taste, a little example of how you come in there, the type of energy you bring so people can actually see it in case they're coming in there low energy, beaten down after a long day? Can you show us a little bit of what that feels like?
So I'll talk specifically about M-Face right now because I'm super pumped about it because I don't know if it's magic, Lauren, but I'll kind of tell you a little bit about how I do it. We've never been able to truly talk about the function of the face, right? It's all been about collagen. It's all been about, let's rewind 25 years and enter CO2 laser, then CO2 fractional laser. Then you have radio frequency, microneedling RF. Then you get into some other things. It's all been about collagen production. And that's not the whole story. What we've never been able to talk about is truly going after and regenerating the muscle, really going after and stimulating that connective tissue again, hitting the fascia, seeing lifting, the fat pads actually moving back to where they're supposed to be. We've been faking with injections, and don't get me wrong, there's a place for all of this, right? You want to create collagen, you want to do injections, and I love microneedling with stem cells and RF and all of that. Potenza is one of my favorite treatments as well. But when you can really explain and get somebody excited about something we've never seen before, and we've never been able to treat the structure of the face and get them to that next space, I get excited. I don't know if you guys can hear it in
when
my
you
voice.
talk about it, I feel it because you're like, hey, we've been doing it this way for so long, but now it's not the whole story. Now we have I could feel like I'm being let in on a secret, and now I'm ready to take that journey with you. So I even in that short burst, totally makes sense.
Yeah, I absolutely love this. This whole industry is really, really exciting. And if you're not excited about it, you're kind of missing the whole boat. Right?
I'm ready to buy.
You should have came to see me, Phil. I would have taken great care of you.
Yeah, I
got
a lot of comments today. Phil, I'll take care of you. I mean, what have I done? I appreciate it. So yeah, let's continue. So we talked about the initial paperwork. We talked about excitement with every key consultation. What do you mean by what are you trying to accomplish? Talk about what's real and listening and educating the patient.
Yeah. So when I'm saying talk about what's real, is it goes into what Ray was saying, right? You need to put together the plan that they need. The biggest problem in non-surgical consultations is putting a plan under treating across the board is the biggest problem in facial aesthetics, non-surgical right now. And it's because you're scared to ask for money. Right. And that's a big problem. So we personally really make sure that we're diving in and doing active listening with the patient, right? They're pouring their heart out. What's bothering them? It is then your job to really put together that customized program. So we specifically for the face, we call it a facial aesthetics journey because it is a journey. There's no end all be all, right? M-Face is awesome. Potenza is amazing, right? If you're getting into hyperpigmentation, pico and all of that, these are amazing things, but they're not the end all be all. So putting together what I liked, what Ray said, and I'm going to talk about is specifically just calling it out what it is, giving them the short and the long-term goals and what we're trying to accomplish, because most places are not doing that. Right? They're just going after and doing it. So I really like that, Ray. So when you're listening to the patient, and you are telling them what is real is what they need to solve the problem that they told you they had. Right? So many times we put our head in their person's pocket and it screws everything that's what's happening, and you cannot do that. So I'm going to jump forward, but so listening to the patient, my first question that I ask is, what are you trying to accomplish? The rest of the consultation is garnered around what they respond. And we always want to go back and say, okay, so if we're doing this, is that answering really what you told us you wanted? So you're constantly going back and making sure that you are asking, is this solving the problem? Educating the patient. So the number two thing, if you're going to do two things in this world, one, you want to get them excited. And the second one is, do not tiptoe away from talking about the competition, right? So when I just did that short, like 30-second pitch on M-Face, right? I broke down everything that's come before it. And
wait, hold on. I want to set the stage for this.
Okay.
This is really, really good. So watching Nick in action, talking about the competition, and when I've seen him do it, he did Cool Sculpting versus M-Sculpt Neo. Nick, if you could lead us into that and show us exactly the way you do it with a patient, it's like watching Brad Pitt on the stage. I mean, not on the stage, but on the big screen. So let's watch this. This is unbelievable.
No, well, I don't know if everybody's going to think this is unbelievable, but
I mean, I think it's unbelievable, but I'm excited. You got me excited.
Well, so the big thing is, you can bet your ass that they are looking into your competition, right? So we do a lot of body contouring. So we've done the most sculpture of any clinic in the world. We're one of the top M-Sculpt Neo providers in the country, right? So we do a lot of body contouring. You can bet that they are looking at Cool Sculpting. And you can also bet that if they walk into a Cool Sculpting clinic, they're not going to talk about the potentials that can happen. So to go exactly into what Phil was saying is, I say, here's how Cool Sculpting works, right? They're utilizing suction. They suck your fat between these two panels, and they're cycling liquid nitrogen between the two panels to freeze your tissue. And the reason why they're trying to freeze your tissue is because your fat has a high affinity for cold, which is true. Unfortunately for you, so does your dermis, nervous system, vascular bundles, and lymphatic system. We're damaging all the tissue that's been sucked in between those two panels. So there's tons of permanent nerve damage lawsuits out there. You can be left with bruising that can last for months, cellulite because of lymphatic damage. You can be left with skin laxity issues. More important on the aesthetic side is it's such a hyperlocalized reaction that you can only damage the fat that they can suck in between those two panels. So when your body gets rid of those dead fat cells, you can be left with something that's called a shark bite, or shelving. Looks like somebody took a divot out of you, which we do see all the time. Or you could be left with paradoxical hyperplasia adipose, which was a mouthful, right? And everybody knows what happened to Linda Evangelista, so I'm not going to dive into that. I promise you that is all very real, that if they walk into a Cool Sculpting consultation, they're not going to have that conversation. No one chooses to go to Cool Sculpting after they've met with me, right? So same thing, if you're talking about facial aesthetics, break down the competition. Why is it the solution that you're giving me is the best option for it? I do not recommend steering away from that. Go after it, hit it head on, and educate them for what is real, because this industry is amazing and people need to be educated. There's so many laser factories that have a 1 or 2 trick pony. And guess what? You're a perfect candidate if that's all they do, right? We have 17 different devices. We have best in class across the board. And what we're going to be able to provide is very unique and going to be the best for them. Just ask me, right? So I get really excited about this. Hopefully, Phil, that was great. And again, this will be recorded. So if you love that script, you could just write it down or transcribe it, right? Because every time when I see you, do that script, Cool Sculpting versus Neo, because there's a lot of customers, a lot of our clients have the M-Sculpt Neo, their jaws just drop. So it really, really is amazing. Thank you for sharing that, Nick.
And if you're on the call and you have a Cool Sculpting device, you better figure out what the flip side of that conversation is.
Yeah, you better get the battle with them. Okay, so let's go down. We talked about discuss the competitors, assess needs with constant buy-in from the patients.
Yeah. So when you ask them, so we're always going back to what they said, right? So if this plan, is this solving the problem that you told me you had, right? It's that active listening piece. right? So you're always going back to what they told you is really bothering them. So you always want to go back. Is this solving it? Yes, it is. Perfect. So this is how many treatments it's going to take. Does this all make sense? So you're making sure that they understand throughout the entire consultation. Because if you don't do that, then they can get lost. And then you're trying to backtrack and catch up. Where if you're constantly asking and getting the consistent buyback in, you've handled majority of the objections, right?
Throughout the process.
Exactly.
Love it.
So, Nick,
so
shall I?
Yeah, please.
I'm gonna jump in here. So I just want to recap quickly. Okay, you've got the consultation. We've had a great experience. We're coming there, talking to them, getting them excited. We're listening. We're educating. We're discussing the competitors. We're getting that constant buy-in throughout the process. But I think this next piece you're about to go into, this is where a lot of people drop the ball. At some point after all this, what do you have to do? You have to
ask for money.
Ask for the money. So let's talk about that, because I think that's one of the pieces where you do all this and, we get a little choked up because we built this relationship and we don't want to ask our friends for money. And you said something, I love the line, you put your head inside their pocket. And I think you'll probably talk about that here.
Yes. So the way that we really set this up is it's constant buy-in from the patients throughout. You're handling all of the objections. You have built yourself as the expert. As you've talked through, you're going to need this many treatments, whatever it is. And then you go in and we talk about what the actual technology is, talk about the competition, and do all of that. We're extreme transparent and transparency in how we do our pricing. We do not put it online for the exact same reason that Ray doesn't, is we fully customize everything that we do. But that being said, we break it down on exactly how the entire program and that journey is really going to look like, and we be fully transparent with them. And we say our normal pricing of what this would be is X. And because we're going to be doing the full journey for you, you get this discount based upon you seeing on our Facebook ad or whatever it is, right? So we really need to make sure that you, in our clinic, that you're breaking it down and the patient fully understands what they're paying for and why, because that can also really intimidate them. And the last, yes, Chris.
I was going to jump in, and I think the big question everybody wants to know is the words you use to ask for the sale. Like, I bet you have some really money lines that you go through. So I'm going to say you're smiling, so I know I'm on the money there.
So what, I'm going to be very direct in how this is, because when I'm sitting down and doing a consult, that consult's, going to last for 30 minutes. It could be 45 minutes. If it's a short and sweet and they just have some flank fat that they don't want and they're already lean and all of that, and we're just going for Emsculpt Neo Edge or Sculpture, whatever it is, it could be a 15-minute consultation. Pretty darn simple in terms of what it is. But if you do the consult properly, they understand everything. You've handled all of their objections. You've broken it all down. And my favorite thing is, are you ready to get started? It's no real super sweet salesy used car salesman. It is really an educational sale when you go through this entire thing, because when you're getting the constant buyback, they know that you're the expert. We've done more consults than anybody. We do more treatments than anybody. You understand the treatment program and why. Would you like to get started?
Yep.
How would you like to pay? But the big thing is, after you ask for the sale, shut up and let them answer.
So we're not overcomplicating it and getting in our heads and saying, oh my God, how am I going to, talk about all the money? We're showing them, we've done all the work. Now the question is, hey, are you ready to get started? Just like that. And
just
let
like
them answer. And don't say a word. Let them answer, because a lot of times they'll probably say what?
Yes, that sounds good.
And
how great is that?
And it's hard. It's, what I find, it's hard for people to stop talking when they ask for the money, because they feel like they have to justify the price.
Yep.
And you need to train yourself. Nick comes from a sales background, so he gets this. You need to train yourself just to be quiet. He said something really important. I want to give you something. I want to give you a gift of a book that I've read that really does an amazing job teaching you how to do this. He talked about education-based selling. Okay. If you're into reading, or if you're into buying books and putting them on the shelf like I am, The Ultimate Sales Machine by Chet Holmes. This book taught me everything I've ever needed to know about education-based selling. Education-based selling, we're not going to dive into it. Maybe we'll create a masterclass down the road about it. But education-based selling is what Nick is talking about. You feel very comfortable of explaining the problems, explaining the education. Like when we talked about getting excited, Nick wasn't excited about selling. Nick was excited about telling and educating the information, right? So he was educating us on the information about the Neo versus Cool Sculpting. I want to buy from the guy who knows about this, right? And so from here, if you really want to dive into it, that book by Chet Holmes is the author. Ultimate Sales Machine will give you a lot of insight to that.
Amen.
So link to the book on the chat.
Yeah, and so finally here, number 4, provide payment options if necessary. What do you mean by that?
So I never offer payment options ever. I let them tell me they need it, right? Because I don't want to spend the extra percentage if I don't have to, unless they need it, right? So you want to make sure that you're giving them the full price they fully understand and say, would you like to get started? If they go, whew, wasn't expecting it to be $6,500, right? Do you have payment options? They'll ask, right? Or if they don't ask, they'll be like, whew, I'm going to have to think about that, right? And I'm not going to, so I have a 75-80% close rate myself, which is pretty damn good in this industry, but I don't close everything, right? I'm not perfect across the board. I get objections. So something else that you can really do is if they're like, I have to think about it, I have to talk to my husband or whatever it may be, right? When you're asking for, upwards of $10,000, $15,000, that can be the answer. I understand. I'm a husband. If my wife went out and all of a sudden came back and said, I spent $13,000 without talking to me, I might not have been the happiest with that, right? So you can also, we never want to be pressury or salesy, meaning you have to buy right now to get this, but I will give them a date that's like 3 days away. So something that can provide urgency, but not be pressury is something where you can really say, hey, you know what? Today's Thursday. If I give you till Monday, would that be fair?
Yeah.
Right. So that is something that can help you do.
So for the clients that do say yes, let's talk about how we execute and finalize the transaction here.
Yeah. We are running their card within 2 minutes of them saying yes. Okay. If they say I'm in, get the money. We're going, right? And then this next step is maybe the third most important thing, right? So timing, punctuality is needed and important throughout the entire piece. After they do that, take pictures and measurements immediately.
See, this is why I heard you on stage. You said, get them naked immediately.
Yeah.
Get the card, get them naked, and they're locked in.
Yeah. It will cut down on buyer's remorse. I can't even tell you by how much, right? So we do a ton of body contouring. You have to take pictures. You have to get measurements at some point. If you can do it right away after you collect payment and then do scheduling, buyer's remorse will go away because they're disarmed. It makes a big, big difference. And then start treatments as soon as you possibly can. If you can do it that day, great. But you want to keep that excitement going into the excitement for the actual treatments. And you don't want them to wait for a month, if at all possible.
Awesome.
Yeah. Amazing. So we got about 10 more minutes left. We'll focus on a few other pieces. Nick, you said, hey, it wouldn't be right with consultations without talking about retention. Ray talked about retention. There's a pattern here. Super successful people, they focus on retention. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about retention here.
Yeah, so this is huge. And I'm going to talk about something that is not actually on this slide, but for all the business owners that are listening to this should perk your ears up and you need to pay attention. So at the end of the day, I know we all love this industry and we love doing this, but at the end of the day, we're trying to build our brand and that brand has a certain valuation, right? So a business valuation standard is 3 to 5x of your profit for a year. That is your total business valuation. If you have memberships, it more than doubles it to 7 to 10x. If everybody on this did not know that, you need to know that. So if you have recurring predictable revenue, hence working with Repeat MD, you not only have all of these much easier to capture consultations and ongoing revenue, but you more than doubled your overall valuation of your business. That is very, very powerful. So I spend a lot of money in advertising. But what's so great about this is it's 5 times more expensive for me to spend advertising dollars to get somebody new than to recapture somebody that's already with me, because we are putting together those patient experiences moving forward. 76% of your patients consider themselves a lifetime patient after their 3rd visit. And we weren't always great about this. We've made mistakes. We were not always great on the retention piece because I was always focused on this. Thank goodness for Repeat MD, because it's made it close to dummy proof. And it is the best way to really dive in to this whole space and make it easy for you to set up that recurring revenue, set up the entire process so that your business is as efficient as possible and really get the recurring revenue coming in. So you know what you're looking at, right? I know that when I go to sleep, if I've done my consult right, that consult is going to keep going in when I'm including it into my consultation deals. So we're really trying to implement this to where you don't get the discount from my advertised price if you're not bought into a membership of some kind, because then that puts you into that capability to have all of these discounted membership. It's a great way to really get people into that retention, but it makes sense for the patient, because we're telling them this isn't the end all be all. You're going to be with us for a long time because we're putting together this whole plan. This is the best way and the most cost-effective way to make sure that that happens. But then it also adds a considerable amount more to the bottom line. And I didn't fully realize this until I looked at all.
And Nick, you're breaking up a little bit there, Nick. I think we're actually back, but just to clarify on the retention, I think you talked about saying, hey, you have to be bought into memberships, and memberships creates that monthly recurring revenue, which ultimately drives the valuation of the business, because that's money the business is making before day 1 of the month. So let's quickly go through and talk about why memberships matter, just for those of you who have memberships or don't. We can talk about that in a second. But Phil, just frame us on some of the stats that you've uncovered in our research and our time with our clients and what we found out about memberships, if you could.
Yeah, Nick did a great job leading into those pieces, right? He does the consultation. In order to get the discount, you have to upsell a membership. Well, why? Very quickly, take a screenshot of this or whatever. 7 out of 10 patients want ongoing treatments for aesthetic treatments. Here's crazy. Here's another stat we should start adding. We've done this as far as polled our clients or polled, the audience. It's about 4 out of 10 practices even offer memberships. 7 out of 10 patients want them. You see the gap there? 4 out of 10 practices have memberships. 7 out of 10 patients want them. There's a gap.
Think about all the favorite brands you work with. Doesn't all your favorite brands, don't they offer memberships now, subscriptions?
Yeah.
Of course, that's what people want. So
yeah. And so, and Nick mentioned about valuations, right? Look, I ask owners all the time. I say, what's the goal of the business? Do you want to sell it? Do you just want to make a profitable cash flow business? Do you want to leave a legacy business to your family? What's the goal here? Regardless of the goal, trust me, trust yourself, you're going to want the greatest valuation possible, right? Who wants a business that you can never sell if you had to? You might be in business today. You might say, I'm never going to sell. Fair enough. But if you had to, don't you want the greatest valuation possible? Rather than selling a business for 3 million, you sell it for 15 million. That's the type of life that we're talking about, right? So anyways, memberships matter. Take that. We're going to continue going so we can get to Q&A. And also, for everyone that stayed here, thank you. We always run a little bit over, so thank you for your patience. We're going to be giving away this Louis Vuitton bag here, so we'll stick around for that.
So don't go away. The bag is coming up. So let's get into the Q1 competition announcement. This is our client competition, so we're ready to jump into that. And again, to reiterate, we're giving away a Louis Vuitton bag in here in just a few minutes. If you've been on these webinars before, we're ahead of schedule compared to normal, guys. So thank you for sticking with us.
Something I want to mention here, Q1 competition, if you're a Repeat MD client, we have a quarterly competition by selling what Nick said, selling memberships. Ray there as well sells memberships, sells packages right through your own app, through Repeat MD. We always do a competition. Whoever sells the most, we send their entire office to a trip. So Pure Dermatology, they're actually, Chris, by the way, they're in Cancun this weekend.
Are they right now?
Yeah, they're leaving right now for Cancun. We had awesome. Michelle Bauer win a trip to Turks and Caicos. So where? I mean, we did Turks, we did Cancun. Where are we going next? We're going to Costa Rica, baby.
Costa Rica.
I mean, Costa.
Those beaches. You got
I mean, baby, Costa Rica. I mean, my God, maybe you find a tiger in the jungle, bites you in the ass. Who knows? Anything's possible. So, anyways, client competition. We announce we do it every quarter. Won't go too deep into the details. Reach out to your client success manager if you have any more questions there. But we also send a patient. Right? We do a patient giveaway as well. If they buy a membership, it's right there on your app. It'll say, if you buy something, you automatically enter for a trip to win. So anybody that buys through your RepeatMD app, they'll be entered to win a Costa Rica all-inclusive vacation.
In you, reinvesting in your clients, guys. And we're happy to do it. We want to see you be successful. Your success is our success. So if we get your patients excited to buy from you, that's a win for you, a win for us. So this is fun.
And if you're just joining, guess what? We give away the destinations get better all the time, right? Cancun to Costa Rica. I mean, I'll take Costa Rica.
The North Pole.
Yeah. The North Pole, Arkansas trip, North Pole trip, ride a polar bear. So also big announcement. I'm going to send you the link. This is going to be our virtual Sell More Summit. Okay, this is the first time we've ever done a virtual Sell More Summit. Amazing topics. We're giving away, you read it right, folks, April 15th, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. That's on a Saturday. We're doing $100,000 live cash giveaway. Okay, we're giving away $100,000 in cash at this webinar, right? Jeff is putting the link in. You're the first to know about it. We have limited spots. Can only take so many people in Zoom. So he's going to put that on there. Why are we doing that? Well, I'll tell you why. Because when I was a boy, a small boy in Austria, I'm originally from Vienna, Austria. It was my goal one day to be a big game show host in America. And I never lived my dream of being a game show host, giving away free things.
Damn near there though, Phil. You're on.
But now I'm here. I'm giving away bags. I'm giving away trips. I'm giving away $100,000 in cash. Don't tell anyone. Don't tell
our VCs. This is a secret, guys. Don't tell the VCs we're giving away this $100K.
So we're giving away cash to, I think it's to the 4 or 5 different business owners during the Sell More Summit, because we're reinvesting in your education. Look at the topics: selling 30% of your revenue with retail items, top 5 high margin services to be selling this year, how to close. Nick will be back to how to close 20% more consultations. He'll go a little bit more in depth here. How to sell memberships, recurring revenue, making your practice more valuable. Guys, listen to this one. I have a private equity roundtable, private equity folks that are buying med spas that are going to be live for this, telling you what they look for valuations, how to buy, sell, and scale your business. And then the most exciting piece, we're doing the $100,000 giveaway during this time, our V2 launch. Okay, our product team has been working for the last 8 months on building the most incredible e-commerce engine that this space has ever seen. And we're upgrading RepeatMD to version 2. You're going to want to see this. It's one of those things that I look at and I'm awed by every single time. So we'll be starting beta here pretty quickly, but make sure that you save the date for the Sell More Summit. It is in right now. If you check your chat, the link is in your chat. You'll be the first to register. We have limited amount of spots that we're going to allow to come into this Sell More Summit. There's just,
let's share that link again. Let's just, keep the link, keep spamming it up there. And guys, I'm in New York right now, working with our product and dev team on V2, taking a look at this. And I'm telling you, like, it blows me away, and I'm seeing it from the inside. We cannot wait to share this with you. If you like RepeatMD and what we do now, you are going to be blown away by what we have in store for you, what we've been building in the background. So please do not miss this. Tell your friends. Don't tell your competition at all costs, but be there.
All right. So with that being said, let's spend a little bit of time here on Q&A. So Jeff, Sam, you're in the background. Let's get our panelists back. Ray, I think that you're muted, so we'll get you unmuted here. Nick, let's get you back on here.
Sorry about that.
Perfect. Let's start with Q&A, and we'll get a few questions in here. And if we run a little bit over, then we'll send some answers via email. So Jeff or Sam, do you want to pop in and give us some Q&A?
Can everybody hear me now?
Oh, I can hear you. So
Hi, Nick, we hear you.
Thank you.
I'll pop in. They just sent me the questions here. How do you coach staff on what discounts they can give? Are they predetermined or done with best judgment? So Ray, how does that work?
So we talked about this. We actually have like a set number. So it's not the number that I want them to start with. Obviously, again, it has to do with the treatment plan. So I don't want them to do the line item. I don't want them to say, yes, our Botox is $14 a unit. I'm willing to give it to you for 10 to keep you in the door. It's, hey, are they willing to spend, or are they buying 50 units? If they're buying 50 units or more, then it might be a discounted price then. If they're buying multiple fillers, then it might be a discounted price then, but it's not a one and done.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
So another question on treatment plans. So Nick, on this, when you give a treatment plan, is it better for them to pay full price after their consult or take a down payment and pay the rest on treatment day?
That's a good question. So I mean, you always want to pay full price on the right away. So they don't get the discount unless they pay it in full to get started. You don't get on my books if it hasn't been paid for. Obviously, there are some things that or some times where you have to get creative with somebody, right? They don't qualify for care credit. They're not qualifying for, whatever it might be. I despise using care credit. That's why I never offer it to begin with. But you have to get creative internally, which talking with some of the Repeat MD people, there's going to be some amazing things happen in version 2 that are going to be about this. So I'm really excited about it. So sometimes you have to get creative, but 100% of the time, I'm trying to get full payment right there. You don't want to take a down payment. If you can get the money, because then they're bought in. Because if you've done your job in the consult, they're excited and they're ready to show up regardless.
Got it.
And
So,
Phil,
so this is a question for both of you. How do you combat client lateness or not showing up on time? Just curious on that side. If you're not charging for consultations, how do you handle clients not showing up on time?
Do you want to go first or do you want me to do it, Nick?
Go ahead, Ray.
So what we do is we do a complimentary consultation, but what we do is we have them put $50 on their bank, and it is completely refundable if they decide to not move forward with their treatment plan. But if they decide to move forward with their treatment plan, it goes towards it. So yes and no, at least guarantees that they're going to show up. They know that if they're not showing up, they're automatically losing it.
Yeah, that's super smart, and a lot of our clients take that same approach. Great answer, Ray.
What about you, Nick? This is a common question.
Yeah, we're a bit different. We do a completely complimentary initial consult. I like what Ray's doing. It definitely alleviates people from not showing up. But we'll get a lot of people that are just fully turned off by putting their credit card down and they won't book. And even if I can get an extra 20%, let's say that we will have people not show up. So there's something that you can actually do that's called, you can kind of, I hate to use this word, but you almost bribe them. So we're actually just starting very new where day of be like, hey, really excited to see you come today. As a gift for you coming today, would you prefer X or X? So we're going to offer a complimentary full spectrum infrared sauna session or something that is reasonable. That's not too much overhead for us, just for them showing up. So if they weren't going to show up, even though they confirmed and they went through that whole process, the morning of, we're having that where, hey, really excited to see you. Because of this, we're going to give you a gift. Which would you prefer, this or this? That's something new that we're doing to kind of cut down on people not showing up. That is a great question. Hopefully that helps.
So, Nick, I've noticed your Repeat MD signups have gone up in the last week or so. So when they come in for that, you're making them scan for the app in order to claim that. That's incredible.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's you were telling me that now, it all makes sense. You didn't tell me the strategy, so I'm glad I got to hear it now.
You're leading with the carrot. I like it.
So another question for you, Nick, here with the Neo in particular, how long are you spending on the education outside of the clinic, right? Diet, exercise, water, and how do you bring that into the conversation?
Good question. So we actually dangle the nutrition piece. So the way we do it is we get them scheduled, and at their first treatment for whatever body contouring is, specifically for Neo, we sit down and we'll do a high level nutrition consult, really making sure that they're just not being idiots at the end of the day. So we'll book 30 minutes. We call it our wellness check-in. And the whole point to that meeting is to really make sure that they are not doing dumb things, because you have to be hydrated to purge the dead fat cells out. We are building muscle. obviously need to eat protein, right? So some simple things, but you'll have people that think they're doing good things and they're drinking, half a gallon of Diet Coke a day, right? Oh, but there's no sugar, right? I mean, then you have to then you have to get
Oh
into
my
that
God.
whole process. But I think it's important in this world, specifically the body contouring world, for us to really try and get people healthy when we can. And for skin, right? You're not going to regenerate anything if you're sleeping 2 hours a night. So it doesn't matter what device we're doing. If you can have a consultation and dive into what we're really trying to accomplish on the health side to maximize results, patients will respond to that. It's amazing how powerful aesthetics is towards driving people towards health.
Got it. And two more
Awesome.
questions. This is for both of you here. Do you have a refund policy of any sort, or how do y'all think about refunds, et cetera? So Nick, we'll start with you, and Ray, then we'll go back to you. How do y'all handle any sort of refund or I want my money back conversations?
We don't have them very often. Obviously, you're going to have people that are upset from time to time, of course. But if you handle the patient throughout the entire process and you're checking in with them, a lot of times it could be figured out to where you're not doing refunds, because we really don't offer refunds. So let's say somebody goes through a body contouring and they don't see results for whatever reason. Chances are it's things that they're doing at home. So this goes into one of the chats that just came through, is how important are imaging systems. And I want to expand upon that. Is you have to cover your butt every single way that you possibly can. So in the body contouring, we're taking full biometric data with an in-body. We have a full 3D scanner in the Canfield Vectra. We have the Vizia. We're taking handheld photos as well. So I'm exactly seeing whether they're hydrated, what their weight is, if they gain weight, if their visceral fat has gone up, all of that. So we can really hold people accountable, and they know that. So making sure that you are covering your butt and holding the patient accountable as much as possible will save you across the board, not only body contouring, but also facial aesthetics.
And Ray, what's your take on the refund conversation?
So it's actually funny because I actually just dealt with this today. So for me, I really don't do a refund policy either. I want my client to be happy. I don't want to refund them and have them go down the street. So I want to see what's actually happening with it. I agree with Nick saying, make sure you're doing before and afters. That's going to be the biggest savior. I know, so I've worked in some practices and taught some practices who don't do that. So you're not just doing it for your patient, you're doing it for you to guarantee that you can show them your before and afters. Have I had patients where I thought for sure like they're going to have a better result? Yes. So what I usually do is I will give them something that usually is like a high ticket item with a very low consumable, and say, I'm very, sorry, like, I really thought this was going to work better for you. Or, the results typically, there are 2-3 treatments and you had the 3 treatments, you might need more. So I will take care of that, because it's not really costing me any more than just my time if it doesn't have a consumable.
Well said.
Amazing. Yeah, that was a great, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And final piece for both of you, a lot of repeat MD clients here. And so one question that came in, and I think it'd be useful for everyone, is how do you build the hype for repeat MD when launching? We have someone that's brand new, and where and when do you talk about getting your patient to sign up for repeat MD? We'll get both of you to answer, and then we're going to give away this incredible Louis Vuitton bag. Can you see it on camera? My God. I mean, and we also give you the gift receipt too. So if you want something that's, if you want something different, then go ahead and buy it. So Nick, how do we get people excited when they, when you launch repeat MD, and then when and where do we talk about it for them to sign up for Aria's VIP app?
So we really integrated it into the whole consultation, because that's when you're going to get the most excitement from the patients, at least from ours, or at least we try to. But then also making sure your front desk staff is as excited and they know that this is super beneficial for the patient, right? Because Making sure that your staff is fully on board, as this not only, yes, it's beneficial for the business, but this is good for everybody. It makes your staff's life easier. It makes your patients' lives easier. They think they're part of something bigger than them, and they are when they're part of this. Making sure that everybody is really on the same page. But I really would incorporate it into your consult, and you don't get the discount unless you're part of a member, because boom, you've already talked to them and you've built up this entire patient journey. Being part of your membership is part of that journey, right? You're going to be doing these things, making that an integral part of their patient experience and journey with you is what I would recommend.
Amazing. And Ray?
So I'm actually glad you brought this up, because it's something I wanted to touch base on earlier and I totally forgot about it during that time. So we do it a little bit differently. And the thing that I'm kind of excited about is the way that we get people to sign up for it is getting them excited about the check-in process. So this is something that one of my front desk people came up with, and I didn't even realize she was doing it until the one day I seen her doing it. So as people were walking in the door, we have our QR code in the front. And so what she says is, hey, have you checked in with our new QR code? And people are like, wow, I haven't done that yet. Let me do it. And she goes, yeah, you get $50 off today just for scanning your QR code to sign up. So that gets them signed up. They don't have to join the membership at that point, but to get them signed up for it. And so that's something that I thought was a little bit different. And then when they go back in the room, I go, I don't know if they fully explain it to you. Sometimes the front desk does. But when I go back there, I'm like, let me tell you about this app. It's amazing. It talks about a lot of the services we do. It has a texting platform. It has our memberships on there. There's Karma on there. If you want to put like a promo on there or a package deal, that you can go through that. But I like it that she does it where you're signing up through us, knowing that like you're getting these, I don't want to say giveaways, but you're getting something for just getting our information in there. Because if I tell people just to sign up for something, a lot of times they're hesitant. They don't want to automatically download something to their phone.
Yeah, nobody does, right? And that's why you're buying the engagement. I have never walked in where a business was like, yeah, download our app. And I was like, yes, of course, right? It's like, no, it's like, what's the offer? And that's why the QR code exists. They scan, they get that offer. And also, when we talk about retention, just for all of you that are new to Repeat MD, or as a refresher to those, we have a system called the Einstein retention system. And the Einstein retention system means when a patient comes in and gets that free, whatever it is, or that $50 off, you're buying that engagement, it will automatically recognize Phil hasn't been back in 30, 60, 90 days and send an offer to invite you back. So for example, for me, say if we take this all the way back, say I had a much better experience and I was excited and I got the Repeat MD app at the place that I got the, the microneedling. Say if that all happened and there was a totally different experience. Well, it was my first treatment and that was my first visit to that practice. Trust me, I'm going back into my regular habit, regular routine, regular places, and I will forget. And all that money you spent for acquisition is going to be gone. You're going to want an automatic, systematic way to reach out to me and say, hey, Phil, love to have you back. Here's an offer. And then at the minimum, if I have the offer or not, doesn't matter. But at the minimum, I thought about you again. And you get that screen time where I'm like, oh, you know what? Let me book another treatment. Those things are so important. So Nick, Ray, thank you so much for today. You've been absolutely incredible. People are already commenting that this has been a game changer. They've said they love Repeat MD as well. Karen, my God, we're going to put you on the webinar next. so thank you. So let's go give away this bag here.
Hey, Phil, and I got one bonus question while you're pulling up the wheel. I think we had Krista Landers asked, how do you get patients excited? Krista, I'll tell you this. It's real simple. You've got to be excited. Being excited as Phil is, giving away this Louis Vuitton bag. That's how you get patients excited.
Amazing. So this is my first time using this wheel. It's a different looking wheel here. Let's see. All right. So we got to be present to win. This definitely went over a little bit. So I would not be surprised if we got to spin this wheel a few times. Can everyone see the wheel? All right, here we go.
Kayla, we see your chat though. Just FYI, we see you over there chatting.